Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Mayday Network. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginsky, and you are watching the Daily Dispatch. We have some breaking news out of Beverly Hills. A new survivor has come forward speaking out against Congressman Eric Swalwell in some pretty harrowing account of what happened to her. Her name is Lana Drews, and she was speaking out with her attorney. I believe that's Lisa Bloom, who is Gloria Allred's daughter. We'd love to, well, not love to because it's so awful, but we'd like to play her statement for you. But before we do, Julie, I'd love to just hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm going to just say this. The statement is terrible. And if anybody here has been is a survivor of sexual violence, just a warning that you may not want to watch. But it's awful. I mean, it's awful. And I think as Democrats, we need to call out what this is, which is people like this do not wear partisan hats. It's not like we're the white hats and somebody else is the black hat.
Right.
When it comes to sexual violence. There are bad people on both sides of the aisle, and there are very decent people on both sides of the aisle with respect to this issue. So why don't we watch and then we can discuss?
Okay. And I also just want to say, like, I read about that this was going to happen late last night when I was going to bed. And it escaped my mind, and then I had opened my computer just in the last 45 minutes and saw this, and I am beside myself. I really am. So anyways, just a warning, like Julie said. I'm gonna play this.
Eric Swalwell and my client Lana Drews. Lana will be reading a statement. Eric Swalwell and I will also have statements. Lana will not be answering questions. Eric Swalwell and I will be answering questions after the statements. Thank you all for coming. Lana.
Hello, everyone.
Get closer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way, I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swalwell. That reality further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward, and I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
Look, the New York DA is looking into the account of the survivor, the former staff member who claims that she was raped in New York City after he had a CNN hit. I spoke to that survivor, as you know, Michelle, and I said to her, "Do you think you were roofied?" And she said that she did not make that allegation only because she didn't have any evidence of it. She went for a rape kit, I think a week later, and I think by that point, any drugs in her system would have been out of her system. But it very much sounds from her account and from the account of the other woman who had come forward earlier, who the two of them don't know each other as far as I know, that very similar accounts of waking up in a hotel room, not knowing what was happening, being totally out of it. The woman who I spoke to said, "I have gotten very drunk before in my life. I have never gotten blackout like this." I mean, this is just something that she said she'd never experienced in her life. And of course, now it sounds like the same thing happened here after one glass of wine. You know, I saw this, you sent this to me, and I saw this and I texted you back there, but for the grace of God. That could be any one of us. Any one of us out for a drink with a friend or a business colleague or somebody who we look up to, a mentor, a friend, having a polite glass of wine. And the next thing you know, you wake up in a hotel room not knowing what the hell just happened. That could be any one of us. This is why I always keep an eye on my drinks whenever I used to keep an eye. I don't really go out drinking anymore, but when I was younger, you just don't do this. This just can't be.
It was one of the first conversations that my mother had with me before I went away to college was, don't leave your drink. If you're at a party, anywhere, don't leave your drink anywhere. If you do, go get another one. Go get another one. Don't go back for it. That's not the same conversation that young men have before they go away to college. It's a different, it's
for sure.
And In the backdrop of this is, I was rewatching the 60 Minutes Australia segment about the manosphere. And, then I think about the Epstein files and Donald Trump and what has been excused by some of the most powerful men in the world, raping children. And then you think about somebody like Eric Swalwell, who had the platform and the power and sat there year after year after year after year. He's a psychopath. This man is a psychopath. I honestly, when you texted me back, it could have been anyone. It could have been. And it has been my friends. These things have happened to people I'm very close to. How I made it through my life not having something like this happen to me is a miracle. With all of the parties and the show business and politics and all the different things that I've been to over the years, like, I shouldn't feel lucky that this didn't happen to me. Nobody should. But that's the world we live in, and that's the country we live in. And at the very least, I can say that, Julie, at least the women on our side, well, there are women on our side who are standing up to do the right thing, because it does not matter who you are. You don't do this. And this man is sick. Eric Swalwell is a sick man.
My heart breaks for his wife and his children, who have to live with this now. And, the question is, like, where does one, as a member of Congress, get, if in fact he did roofie these drinks, who knows? But where does one get?
I asked the same thing.
Like, where do you just wake up and you're like, I'm going to get myself some Rohypnol today? Who prescribed? I mean, I don't even know. Is that a prescription drug? What is it?
No idea. I wouldn't know.
Is there some sort of underground trade among people in DC for Rohypnol or whatever drug this is? I mean, I got to wonder, where does a member of Congress just wake up and say, I'm going to get my hands on this, even if you wanted to?
I don't know.
And I know it's the black market, but where? What black market? Like, do you go online?
Right.
As a member of Congress?
Right.
I mean,
Is it someone you meet up with? Is it your drug dealer in DC? Or,
I mean, that is super, super risky as a member of Congress to do, especially when you are a high-profile member of Congress whom this Justice Department absolutely despises. And by the way, he has just given the Republicans the biggest gift of all. We are not talking about the Epstein files. We're not talking about Tony Gonzalez. By the way, I don't know why people are not talking about Tony Gonzalez, because that guy drove a aide to self-emulate and die. But I don't know.
Yeah.
And for anybody who says, Eric's wife was sleeping at the wheel, no, she wasn't. She was in California with her newborn kid and 2 other kids, I think.
Yeah, I think there's 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there are 3 kids altogether. Like, trust me, I worked on the Hill, and I worked for members of Congress in their districts, and their wives either live in DC or they live back in the district. And for half the time, they don't know what their husbands are up to. Just to be clear.
The fact that he comes from a law enforcement family is not lost on me either. To grow up in that world, like, listen, my mom's side of the family, law enforcement, I understand. And that is not lost on me, and I'll leave it at that. But I'll tell you who else was not asleep at the wheel is Ruben Gallego. And he was approached today by a gaggle, and and yesterday, and he said, how horrified he is, and his family is disgusted, and he had no idea, and he was living a double life. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I had friends in Arizona. I mentioned this yesterday. I didn't say who, I didn't say where, but I had friends in Arizona reach out to me in the hours after all of this broke to tell me exactly what they thought of the senator from Arizona, Ruben Gallego, and what his reputation was and his behavior. And I will leave it at that. So, additionally, Ruben Gallego was, I don't know exactly what his role was, but on Eric Swalwell's presidential campaign, which is short-lived, Ruben Gallego was like one of the leads running the campaign for him. You're trying to tell me that there's nothing going on when they're traveling all over the country? Somebody who's capable of this? I don't think so. It's bullshit. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second. I just don't. And I'm so furious. It just seems as though sometimes with the Republicans, it's like, I think that they get away with this because it's like, oh, well, everybody knows we suck. Everybody knows we're scumbags, so we'll just be scumbags. But people like Eric Swalwell gaslight and lie about being the good guys and standing up for women and standing up for his daughters and invoking their names. How dare you? And if anybody else thinks that they're going to get away with this, you are not. Me Too is not over, New York Times. It is not over.
As much as the New York Times wants us to believe it is.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement is not over. The Me Too movement is actually making tremendous progress. You know why? Because before the Me Too movement, these women would never have been believed. Yep. This would have been a he said, she said. Mm-hmm. He would have gone on his merry way, and that would have been that. And the same applies to the Epstein victims, survivors, because that is exactly what did happen to them before the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. They only got started taken seriously after the Me Too movement, even by the right. Mm-hmm. So, the Me Too movement is very much alive, and we should be grateful to it for allowing this kind of garbage to be put out to sea.
Mm-hmm. Take out the trash. It's time to take out the trash.
But
and this is where also I invite any man, whether you are 80 or 18, I don't care. If you ever hear another man speak of a woman in any way that is derogatory or sexist or using any sort of rapist language, call it out in real time. Because as years go by, this stuff gets enabled and it permeates into behavior. Like, not enough men are speaking up. Not in their personal lives. Not enough. And not enough people are teaching their sons the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. And for everybody who's talking about, well, why aren't we talking about Epstein or Pam Bondi or any of that? Like, agreed. We should be. We should continue to be we should talk about it. But
it's all connected.
They're all connected. Let it not be forgotten that Eric Swalwell did this. Mm-hmm. Not just to himself, not just to survivors, not to the women he attacked, allegedly, but to the party, to all of us. Because we have to sit there and talk about the most harrowing press conference that I've seen in a very long time.
Bravery.
How do you not talk about this? You have to. You have to, so that the next woman who's thinking about whether to come forward or not understands that we have her back, even if she's coming forward against somebody who's a member of our party.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who they are. Don't you get that the whole thing with him was bullshit and a lie? He brought an Epstein survivor to the State of the Union with him.
Oh my God, it's sickening.
He was one of 65 members who voted to release all of the settlement agreements with Congress, with the Me Too. I mean, like, he really leaned into this. But by the way, God bless, I love the vote. But he really leaned into it.
Mhm.
Really leaned into it.
Yep.
And for people who are asking why they're coming forward now and not when there are hearings, there are not going to be any hearings. That is why he retired.
No. Right. That's why he's leaving.
Yeah, he's
Same
leaving.
with Gonzalez.
Yep.
They don't want an open hearing.
They don't want the ethics committee to investigate them. And now that the ethics committee, that they're gone, the ethics committee has no jurisdiction to investigate them anymore. That's what this is about. He's fighting for his life now.
Yeah, because you know what? Eric Swalwell belongs in prison.
He's going to get indicted, I think, if there's any justice, in California and in New York.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody that says, you know, and I got to go after this, but California's so screwed. What do you think about a draft Kamala for governor movement? I think the filing deadline's passed, so just let it go.
Yeah, the primary is very, very soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, just to be clear, he's looking at prison. He's not even looking at, forget his congressional seat. Like, he's got he's looking at some prison time.
Mm-hmm. Sex offender.
He's a sex offender. Rape is a felony.
Mm-hmm. What has to go through someone's mind to hurt another human being and to take this from them? To steal your life, because that's what it is. They're taking from you and they're hurting you. And it's,
yeah. And he said he did not use NDAs ever. Friends, he used NDAs on his presidential campaign. He did.
Yeah.
I know. This is the business I'm in.
I'm so disappointed. It's not even disappointment. I think the disappointment is like just again being proven that you can't trust anything. You know what I mean? You just can't. We have to look closer at people, even the ones we like, especially the ones we like. Because that seat does not belong to him. It never did. It belongs to all of us. And it belongs to the people of his congressional district. And they deserve better. And these women deserve better. His family deserve better. I hope that he has the life that he deserves.
For the sake of his children and his wife, I hope that he gets the help that he needs. So he could be a better, I don't know if she's going to stay with him. That's completely, I'm not judging. It is totally between the two of them. I don't ever judge anybody else's marriage or the reasons for staying in the marriage. But I will say she has a choice as to whether to stay or go. The kids don't. He is their father. So for their sake and his wife's sake, I hope he gets the help that he needs.
Yeah.
I really do. Tree McGreen, if my friend signed an NDA, she's not going to shut up about this no matter what. Well, you might find out that there are penalties in that NDA for her to speak every single time she says something. So when those start racking up, she might realize she's going to go broke. So it's not, the onus is not on the women and the survivor.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
The onus is not on the women or on the survivors to decide whether they're going to violate their NDA and risk that. The onus should be on people not to enforce NDAs or even include NDAs for these kinds of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And facts.
Mm-hmm. Proprietary information only.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to be, I think, tentatively scheduled to be on CNN, Laura Coates, tonight to talk more about this.
What time?
I don't know, sometime at the 11 o'clock hour. Hopefully not.
Okay. I was like, we're going to a game.
I know. But when I come back from that game, we're going to.
That's why I was like, what time?
7 p.m. Michelle, why do you ask? No. Michelle and I are going to a Yankee game tonight. Yeah, very late. So anyway, we'll see if I end up doing that or not. But other than that, great to see everybody. I gotta go. I got an appointment, so I got to jet. But good to see everybody. Hang in there. If you are somebody who went through something like this or know somebody who did, just don't, do what's best for you, but it's okay to turn off the TV. And
you don't have to bear witness to everything.
Yeah, you don't have to bear witness to everything. There are other things in life to bear witness to. That's a very good way to put it, Michelle. And other than that, I'll see you guys later. I'll see you later, Michelle. I'll see you at the game.
Bye.
Bye.
See you at the game. Bye, everybody.